The millennials in Generation Z have the Peter Pan syndrome. They don't ever want to grow up.
They love TikTok.
They don't ever want to grow up. They think that
this is the boomer thing.
They think that the utopian ideals that they have in their are somehow going to translate into adulthood.
Interesting.
And somehow they're going to create this utopian society in which everything is equal.
This is a long TikTok.
Takes care of everything.
Get off TikTok!
You're going to mature and you're going to
realize. What you writing?
You're going to mature and you're going to realize nothing's free.
Nothing is free.
That things aren't equal.
Yes.
Your utopian society you created in your mind in your youth simply is not sustainable.
Oh boy.
It's just a reality.
Well, whatever we're doing now is not working.
Hell, even the hippies came to realize their society. Their society.
Boomer, I knew it! I was gonna say, okay, boomer.
To realize their society is not sustainable.
Should I end it here?
That's
Yes, sir.
Funny. I kind of.
Okay, boomer. Actually, it's peeking right here. I should cover this.
There's the light peeking through.
Yeah,
That's
man.
how the light gets in.
You can't show my bedroom.
So there's this meme going around that is "Okay Boomer," which is the Gen Z millennial becoming the Gen Z millennial exasperated retort to all of the criticisms of baby boomers, and it's accentuating this, or summing up this intergenerational tension that there seems to be quite strongly between millennials, Gen Z, and the baby boomers. Me, I'm a Gen X. I'm the awkward peacekeeping middle child, and I don't seem to be getting into trouble on this one. Not quite sure why I'm getting away with that, but Gen X, just like, I don't know, we just don't seem to get in trouble much. But when journalists write articles or people do opinion pieces on the internet, it's boomers and millennials. I mean, even Gen Z doesn't, well, Gen Z's catching a little flack now, I guess, but it seems to be those two main groups.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe the reason why is because those two generations have the biggest generational divide ever, whether it be because of technological reasons, cultural reasons, obviously age differences. But maybe this is what it is, because the baby boomer generation is the first of its kind during that time, and then the millennials are the first of its kind in that time. Where Generation X came after the boomers, then Gen Z came after the millennials. Where these two are kind of like the pioneers of a new way of living.
So baby boomers got like peak consumerism, peak material goods, and maybe the millennials in their special generational way, they got peak technology, something like that.
Yeah. Millennials were the first to thrive off of the new technological advancements. Boomers were the first to thrive at the first economic, surge after the war or whatever.
So is a possible explanation for what might be happening that will annoy the boomers and the millennials at the same time, which I like to do, make everybody hate me. Freud has this, I had the idea of the narcissism of small differences. So if two groups are actually very similar to each other, they'll attack each other more virulently than groups who are not similar to each other. So you see that even in wars or in violence, you see people attack people who are most like them. So maybe the boomers are looking at the millennials and it irritates them because they're seeing themselves and it creates more conflict.
Yeah, I guess at a smaller individual psychological level, who you hate on or whoever else that you might have an issue with, that you fight with, generally have something about them that reflects a side of you that you might not exactly like within yourself. And oftentimes, for example, you could even bring it into pop culture references such as McDonald's and Burger King, Michael Jackson, Prince, where they're fairly similar things of the same niche, but they're put by other people head to head. It's not necessarily them that actually want to compete like Michael and Prince. It's just that everybody else is like, oh, they have a similar thing going on. Let's put the two and two together.
I would recommend to everybody to have a watch of the OK Boomer videos from the perspective that you just given. It will probably give them a lot of insight. I do do wonder why it's even cited. The generations are cited because back in my day, it wasn't really a thing. Like people didn't go, "Oh, your problem is you're from such and such a generation." It was your problem is you're a kid. Similarly, like when we wouldn't be saying, "Oh, the problem is with this lot as a baby boomers." It's just that they were adults. So I watched one of these videos myself, and there were like older people saying, "Why are your jeans ripped?" or "Why do you have that nose ring?" And it was the same thing for me. Like if I had ripped jeans, I had my eyebrow pierced. People would be like, "Why have you fucking? What's that for?" Because I want to. But I never said, "Oh, it's a generation. It's because you're something wrong with your generation," and rubber stamp them as like a generation. There's a problem with your whole generation. I just went, "Oh, they're just grown-ups.
That's right.
They're just dicks. They just don't get it."
Hey, isn't it? I feel like it was only until the last 5 years did we really start labeling the generations in just casual everyday conversation. I think the word millennial was the Kickstarter for that. Once everybody started saying millennial, then it was like, okay, Gen X, baby boomers, Gen Z.
I mean, you did like it was there. It just didn't mean that much. So there was when I was growing up, the Rat Pack of Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Christian Slater, all the guys who were in Young Guns, basically, it would be cited that they were Gen Xers. You mentioned bands before, like Trent Reznor, Marilyn Manson, Nirvana. Music journalism, you would talk Gen X, but it was never like the problem with kids today is they're Gen X. It would just be like the problem with kids today is that they're fucking kids.
Mm-hmm.
I've not really thought this through massively, so I'm thinking on the fly. Is this an element of our modern day tendency to medicalize everything, to rubber stamp everything?
There it is.
You've got like a special name for it now. It's not just that you're a crotchety old dickhead or you're a annoying young dickhead. You've got to have a thing. You've got to have some nominalization to a group. Fuck, it's identity politics again.
That's probably, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is. Because, yeah, I was thinking like you said, you just called people dicks or assholes if they're being terrible. You never actually associated it with their age or ethnicity or gender or anything like that. But it just feels like only in the last 5 years, we really started just hammering millennials, Gen Z, Gen X. And I'm wondering where and why this overclassification of groups or just fucking everything, every behavior that's patternized or anything that's kind of familiar or similar repeated, we throw a name on it for some reason. And I honestly, I don't know. What do you think?
I think maybe we're pointing the fingers of blame in the wrong place. Maybe it's more my crew. Maybe it's more people in the field of mental health and psychology. With the labeling of everything. Everything gets labeled and everything becomes condemned within the paradigm of that label. Instead of it just being like, oh, this behavior is no good. Wearing ripped jeans and having pierced stuff is not a millennial phenomenon. That's absurd. Like there's kids doing it in the 60s and 70s, you know. It was kids have always rebelled. There's always a tension between old and young.
Yeah.
Old, asexual, structured, living in the past, young, sexual, chaotic, living in the future. And so it's bound to be massive amounts of tension.
I mean, this conflict is nothing new. It's like we've talked about on a previous live stream of like Plato saying like kids nowadays have no respect for the elders. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier when we had sushi, just like I love how kids just rebel for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
And it just drives the adults or grown-ups or boomers crazy.
Yeah.
And they're generally being fairly harmless with it.
Yeah.
And it just drives them crazy. And there's no reason to rebel in the first place.
Well, and then if you could pull it apart and actually start to analyze the parts of this, it might not be a totally absurd accusation. There might be some validity to it. If you could say, okay, generationally, it does look like people who were born, I just read before, it's like 1946 to 1964. That's the boomer generation. There seems to be less tolerance and less patience for things that are not convenient to them. There seems to be that. Kids are always inconvenient. Kids are always going to rebel. They don't need the title attention deficit disorder or oppositional defiance disorder. If there is a structure, the children will rebel against it because they are children. That's what they're supposed to do. It's like lifting weights. you get stronger by pushing against the weight that is there. If there's no weight there, you don't get stronger. So
That's interesting.
there seems to be like a non-acceptance of reality. I have read other people writing in the psychology field say that the experience for those of us born in the 70s and 80s of Generation X was that we felt like we were ruining the party. Like we as children with our parents would be resentful and be like, Jesus, I didn't realize having you would be such a
the party.
bummer, man. It's a real downer. I just want to have parties. And
I want to actually ask you to elaborate on the idea of rebelling against the structure and how it's like lifting weights. What is the ultimate benefit, I guess, when it comes to having children or younger people rebel against a set structure?
that they become strong.
Mhm.
That they become strong. So when I'm playing with my sister's kids, I wish it was just play. It's normally not play. It's actually bloody hard work. But you'll notice, and also they're interacting with other kids. They're like this little rebellious cavemen, cavewomen type creatures who rejoice in running into a quiet room with their arms outstretched and going, ah, like fucking angry little drunk pirates. Or whilst you're talking, they can hear you talking quietly, having out. And then in the middle of that, they'll just get like a toy and just throw it at you. That's an entity looking to experience agency and sovereignty in the world. So
Okay.
it wants to, it's a dry, it's I think this is the Adler concept. It's the will, I think it's Adler, will to power. The will to power is I can pick up this Tonka truck, so I will. What am I going to do with it? Throw it back down. Why? It make noise. It go boom. Everyone shout at me. Me like it's that. It's to be strong.
Do you think the idea of where their moral compass is still also developing? So the idea of right and wrong is fairly androgynous at the moment. So they're trying to experiment with what's right and wrong.
The total psychopaths at that age. Total psychopaths. My 2-year-old nephew, I love him very dearly, but the Machiavellianism and the amorality, you can see it on him. I think I told this story in a seminar last time I was in LA, where he has like a garden that has a boundary and there's no gate there. They just enforce it psychologically. They just say, no, you're not allowed to pass unless you're holding the hand of an adult. So of course he wants to go where he's not supposed to.
Okay.
That's where he primarily wants to go. So I was playing with him one day and he would say hand, and I'd give him my hand and then he'd start pulling me. So in his head, he's like, I can only leave under one condition. The condition is an adult must hold my hand. But then he interprets that as I want to leave, so I'll force the condition that the adult gives me their hand. Oh, wow. So I would like, okay, how do I deal with that? So I would like fall on the floor and just pretend I couldn't move. And then he went, okay, this adult is not going to come with me. So he started to play with the ball. And then he learned if he threw the ball out, I'd go and get it. So what he'd do is he'd throw the ball out and then he'd turn around and go, uh-oh. And I go, well, who did that? And he'd go, like I just watched him do it. And then I'd have to go. And as I would go, he would transgress the boundary at the moment I did, as though I was holding his hand. And you think, well, some people would interact with that and go, that's evil behavior, or that's wrong, or it's manipulative, or I'm like, it's just, he's like a little computer just figuring out the world and finding what the edges of the boundaries are. And sometimes when kids fight, even when I say kids, even adolescents, when they brawl with each other and they start fights with each other, I can only know where I end and you begin by the conflict of touching you. Right. And I'll go, right, that's your space. Maybe I'll do it and you go, rawr, and I'll go, oh, okay, that's dangerous. Or, we find by the mistake, quote unquote, to hate people for their mistakes. Like when I got my eyebrow pierced, it was a terrible mistake. It wasn't a look that I could
bet you could pull it off, man. You're going hard on yourself.
Yeah, well, I would pull it off, but I literally nearly got pulled out and I was sparring a lot.
That's the mistake. Okay.
That's the mistake. So I had this old Bruce Lee style Jeet Kune Do helmet that rests on your eye.
Oh, okay, that's probably not good
sparring,
to have a piercing at.
Boom, then it bent, and then as a whole. Anyway, it wasn't a good idea. Sure. But why did I do it? Because it was different. You want to be alternative. That's the age to rebel. You want to do new things. You want to push against the structure.
And here's the thing. When I meet older people that didn't get the chance to fully go through that phase, there's a lot of unresolved angst and possibly irritation, the resentment of freedom when it comes to other young people doing it.
I didn't
It's
think
like
of that, yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, well, okay, Courtney here gets to dress up and do the thing, and then
Yeah.
Bertha or whoever never got the chance when she was younger. So then she was like, oh, well, fuck Courtney, like
Right.
let me see your manager type of thing, because like
Right.
she never actually was able to breach the end of her boundaries in her adolescence or in their development stages in order to see what life is like when all of that agency gets expressed, to fully feel what actual freedom looks like. Because if there's a point in your life where you never ever feel freedom, you will resent all of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
People need to feel free at least for a while.
Definitely. I mean, but that's I think what makes being a parent such a tough job, because you're setting boundaries and offering freedom at the same time. You have to yin and yang all at the same time. So you have this tricky to fulfill scenario where you have to present a structure and then say operate within this structure, and they go yes, and you say no, fill it.
Mm-hmm.
So push to the edges of the structure I'm offering you, know what the edges are and respect the boundaries, but fill it completely with the kind of freedom that you're talking about. But yeah, I'm sure jealousy is a huge factor. When people gave me shit for wearing ripped jeans or having an eyebrow piercing, they're probably just jealous.
I think boomers might have lived in one of the most structured generations, and correct me if I'm wrong when I say that, but from what I see just through the media research that I get to watch on YouTube and whoever else, it seems like the culture that they got brought up in was heavily structured from birth to the grave almost, where it's like you can actually complete high school, then you go to college, or then you actually are guaranteed to get a job. You can't start a family and get your white picket fence on top of that, and then you get all your money back because your business actually succeeded, or one way or another, where it was like so heavily structured that the extent of rebellion was watching Elvis in leather shaking his hips.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's so scandalous. It was fully clothed.
It was very safe. It was very structured, and it was a period of consistent economic growth. There was no major. There was strikes. There was mining issues and stuff like that. There was no major crisis that they particularly had to live through. So yes, I think that they were very safe. It's ironic on the video you played in the beginning to hear the guy shout, "Oh, all these millennials, they have Peter Pan syndrome. They don't know how the real world works." I'm like, well, Peter Pan syndrome kind of defines. Not saying all boomers are the same, but like if you're saying, "Oh, this person's got a real case of baby boomerism," Peter Pan would be one of the defining coordinates of it. I'm sure.
When was Peter Pan made? The Disney version?
That's a really good question.
Pull up the wiki right now.
Pull up the wiki. I'm gonna guess 1952.
That would be hilarious. It's 1953, I think. Hold on. This is the old one.
So they're talking about, is it
I'm talking about the Disney film.
the Disney film? Yeah, because it was written in the early 1900s, right?
1953 film.
You're joking.
1953.
Right? What did I say? 52?
52.
Amazing.
Yeah, of course. It's made in the 50s.
Amazing.
Nice. You got it, man.
So,
unbelievable.
The boy who wouldn't grow up. Yeah, I mean, it's to live in this fantasy world of constant growth, constant youth. One thing that a Generation Xer who's much more interested in the baby boomer phenomenon than I am said to me was that the rule of baby boomers is whoever dies with the most toys wins. So there's quite a overt, grandiose approach to life. It's quite individualistic. I mean, there's good sides of it that I've seen. I've seen a lot of competitiveness. I was just reading before that it was a way more athletic generation than their parents were. Right. They were much more sporting. Like apparently sports exploded in the baby boomer generation. So athletic, they're eating well, everything is good. They're living in perpetual growth. Really just reminded me this thing of like, they could go to college and get a job. Mm-hmm. They could have a mortgage and get the white picket fence. They could have a family. We, the Generation X and Millennials and Gen Z, are forced to live in the ghost of that fantasy.
Right.
Because it wasn't true for me. It definitely wasn't true for me. So there's no fucking way it's true for your generation or people 7 years younger than you. But it was the fantasy that we were sold on. We were like, why are we working, sir? I was at a private school. Like, why are we doing all this work, sir? So you can get to a better university. So that we can do what? So that you can study and get a degree, and then you'll get a better job, and you'll be paid more, and you'll live a better life. Well, by the time I went to university in 1996, that system was completely broken. By who? By the baby boomers, who industrialized it and turned it into a way of making large amounts of money.
Yeah, I said on the live stream that I had yesterday that the lifestyle and the trajectory that baby boomers have were heavily linear, because like you had a set path that actually worked out. Like if you wanted to live the picket thing, you totally could live that picket fence life if you really wanted to. So their perception of reality is quite linear. It doesn't mean they're any stupider. It's just that they see everything in a straighter line. Where I think the generations afterwards, you, me, and Gen Z, it was very chaotic. Everything kind of circulates around each other, and it's never as what you expect it to be in terms of like living in the ghost of that fantasy. I'm maybe just speaking for myself, but I don't think I was ever even sold any fantasy at all.
Really?
So
Okay.
it's like I don't even actually know a trajectory to go, because they kind of, because Gen X and whatever else, just they kind of like didn't really say much about it. The people around me, the older people, didn't really say anything. They didn't try to sell me on the idea of going to college or anything else.
Right.
So me being a / millennial Gen Z-ish person, there was no fantasy even there in the first place, which also allows the idea of feeling lost exemplifies itself.
Yeah. That's interesting, because we definitely were sold that fantasy, and I think we were sold it sincerely. I think they didn't know that it had gone. So I had guys who had gone to red brick universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Warwick, and Birmingham, and they're like, well, just go to university, you'll get a better job. And I think it was sincere back then. They would have been my age and younger. The teachers I'm looking up to, that they're like 40, 37, they were up to 60. And for them, I think it was true. But then after that, they knew it wasn't. This is when I was working in the British education system. I was actually headhunted by the government to work on a program called Aim Higher. And they wanted me specifically to go into the schools in 2006, 2007 and say to the kids, go to university, get into all this fucking debt through your student loans, you will get a better job. And I was like, well, it wasn't true for me 10 years ago. So I know that it can't be true for them now. But there is this frustration, isn't there? You say their life was linear, where they'll say to kids of this generation that it's like they don't want to know what the challenges are. They're not interested in knowing what your fucking challenges are. Why don't you just? Yeah. Why don't you just pull your socks up and do a bit of bloody work?
Yeah.
And what did you say the other day about the
bootstraps?
Yeah,
pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Shit. No one even wears boots anymore. Shit. They wear Balenciagas that look like socks, man. You ain't got no laces. Get with it. We're Crocs, man. What I find really funny, we briefly talked about this, is that Gen Z, millennials, and everyone younger, we don't do anything directly to harm the boomer generation or whatever older generation it is. It's not like we didn't start it. This legitimately was not my fault, even though it's always my fault. In this particular case, never said anything directly to the boomers. Anybody in my generation could care less about starting shit with it. We're not like, everybody over 55, y'all fucked up. Y'all terrible. And if you do hear that, it's because the boomers start fucking nagging at us out of nowhere about whatever the reason is. It's like, what you doing playing your Fortnite? How about you go do it, flip a burger or something?
If you were telling me that and it was in any other context or any other relationship context, my mind immediately would say that's guilt.
Yeah.
Like I have to. It's not about you. I have to irritate you because I'm feeling cognitive dissonance, because I'm feeling guilty.
Yeah.
I have to attack you preemptively.
What do you think they feel guilty about?
They know that they fucking stole from the system. They took too much. And this is not, like, obviously I don't want to upset baby boomers who are watching this, but like, it's not the whole generation that did it, but the most predatory, selfish, short-sighted policies and economic policies are absolutely in the hands of the baby boomers, because my generation isn't in power yet. It's not fucking 40-year-olds in power. Instead, we got, what is Donald Trump, fucking 807?
He's pretty old,
He's
huh?
old as fuck.
Yeah.
Hillary and Donald stood up on the stage together, and I'm like, who's going to die first? You
Yeah,
can't have
that's
people.
true, huh?
You shouldn't have people that age going for that job, man. That's just fucking crazy. But they're also keeping the fresh blood out of the system, and we know that they've I don't think anybody in their right mind would argue that these most predatory policies that have kind of, it's like they scooped out the middle of the cake and they just handed you the icing. I went, there you go, there's your fucking cake. They know that they took the middle out of that fucking thing.
Do you think the people that hate on Gen Z and millennials know that? Do you think you might think that they're smarter than they could be, man?
Oh no, I don't
You know
think
what I
I don't
mean?
think that they know that it's guilt that's driving the. This is an aggressive conversation. I mean, it's an aggressive conflict that's going on, psychologically aggressive, not physically aggressive, but it does transmit over because we're now seeing political splitting along generational lines, both in the UK with Brexit and in America with Trump. So you do see that, but no, I don't think that they're aware that they feel guilty. Nobody who aggresses another because they feel guilty is like, oh, I'm only doing this because I feel bad because I'm a dick.
One thing that I will say that is the most triggering to boomers or just older people is having fun. I've noticed if I partake in anything that's silly, fun, absurd, nonsensical, something about them just dislodges.
Yeah,
Like
they
the-
lose their
Yeah.
fucking
The
shit.
prefrontal cortex shuts down for a good minute or two, and they just get like really emotional when they see some younger person like just be silly for a little bit. I don't know what that is. Perhaps you know. I don't know.
Are you thinking of any specific incidents?
Yes, I wanted to lead into that. Even just how I'm speaking like that, I think would be enough to trigger a few boomers and older people. When
So I'm allowed to do silly voices, but maybe I do it for shorter periods and they can tolerate that.
or they just don't like the fact that your boy be styling on him. He's young and rich. You know what I mean? I'm an influencer. They don't like that. Okay, anyways. So what happened was if the last podcast that we did was about a few months ago, a month or so ago, whatever.
It's not that long ago, but
In my head, it is.
that's streaming through time. That's what it is.
Beaming through time. And so we announced the Joker podcast on Richard's channel. And I was like, I have this funny idea. I had this idea that I dress up as an offshoot Joker, and then Richard dresses up as an offshoot Batman, and we do the whole podcast like that, which was hilarious. I think everybody was kind of about it, especially on my platform. A few yours were like, yeah, go for it.
The ones with the sense of humor.
The ones with the sense of humor.
And a grasp of reality.
That too. And so we went live for 5 minutes. Five minutes.
Maximum. It was probably more like 3 minutes and 50 seconds. But yes, 5 minutes we went live for.
Okay. Let's say 3 minutes and 50 to make the story a little more impactful. 3 minutes and 50 seconds. The moment that video goes up and then we finish the rest of the podcast on this channel, I look back at the live stream, back at your channel at like midnight, and all I see are just hate comments at me. A good 90% of them were just like, I don't know what you see in this guy. He's a total narc. He's a fucking asshole. I don't know why you have him on the channel. I'm tired of seeing this stupid millennial Gen Z fuck face. Like, they went hard, and they were definitely not my age, man. Like, I was really surprised. And I visually like checked, maybe said like 5 things throughout that entire 3-minute video.
You started the podcast with an impression of Heath Ledger's Joker, and they lost their fucking minds. I've never seen on my channel anything like it ever. And I used to post way, way stronger videos than I do nowadays. They went fucking apeshit. So strong that I've never seen so many apologies. Like the next day, people were writing.
Tell me about that. I don't even know about that.
People commenting. Well, I wanted to try and eradicate it from memory because it was the most appalling thing I'd ever seen. I was genuinely upset that they were so angry about it And I wrote like this long post going, this is totally out of context, disproportionate. And I got as pissy with them as they were being pissy with me. They were angry with you, but they were angry with me for, they were like, Richard, how could you let me see this? And I'm like, well, you seen a 27-year-old in a Halloween outfit who did a pretty good impression of Heath Ledger. I'm sorry you didn't need that level of fucking protection, Karen. I still have a few issues around this. I'm working out. But because I'm an emotionally mature person, I didn't post that.
Dude,
I just deleted it.
And this, you deleted it, which was the proper thing to do. I think it's totally good that you deleted it and you wrote the response back, and then eventually you're like, no, fuck this. I don't want to see any of this on my channel or whatever else. But I really wish it was still up because it could prove so many things. The fact that that Joker costume and outfit archetype is made to piss people off and it worked. That's one thing, which we should have brought up in the podcast. Second, this thing. I did nothing harmful.
No.
Nothing harmful directly to anyone.
No, and the context was set. We were going to talk about Joker, the movie. Like, so you did an impression of Heath Ledger's Joker for 15 seconds. It was a really, really crazy response. So, yes, there is a degree of like, they'll complain, that generation complains that millennials and Gen Z don't have thick skin and that they have no resilience. And they're like, oh, you need your safe spaces. I'm like, so who needs the safe spaces? Who's open-minded? I mean, if you're triggered into a slavering rage by a YouTube video so that you're writing an essay tearing apart somebody's morality, like morality was attacked. Like you had seduced me. I'm now a heroin addict.
It was my character and your morality that was being attacked.
We drown kittens together every day.
Yeah, man.
27-year-old face makeup. That's it. That's all that happened. I'm sorry for the horror if you were caught up in the apocalypse.
It was like almost Halloween, and it was about the Joker movie. Like, God forbid you see something like that.
I would say this, you know, if anybody, whilst we're still on this topic, if you're triggered to that degree by seeing a costume, or you're triggered by that degree to anything you witness on YouTube, you seriously are way behind where you need to be in your therapeutic process. Seriously, that is insane. You shouldn't be responding to anything online like that. Least of all, like a mild YouTube video. YouTube is free. You can change the channel. You don't like what somebody's doing, go somewhere else. Don't ask to see the manager and have a fucking hissy fit.
Here's the thing. Sure, my generation and Gen Z are fairly sensitive in particular things. There are things that definitely cross the line of we shouldn't be crying about it. You know, there's certain things about pronouns and ethnicity stuff and certain things like that. It's
Watch
like,
yourself, boy.
No, I know. I'm watching myself. This is the topic. We got to be sensitive. You know what I mean? We got to be sensitive about this. But you want to. The thing is, if these people be crying safe spaces about these particular topics, at least it makes sense.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah, it has a logic.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
And it's not hypocritical.
Right. It's like, I don't want to go to a place where everyone be calling me racial slurs, so I'm going to try to find a safe space where people don't attack me for my fucking ethnicity. But if you're going to be angrily typing in essays attacking my character and your morality because I got a little bit of lipstick on my face, then your idea of a safe space might be a little bit more fucked up, man.
That's actually another element to this that I think is problematic and perhaps is what generates this irritation intergenerationally is perhaps there's a degree of hypocrisy here. I've just realized, you know, we're tough, we're the captains of industry, we're capitalists, we make the world work and we can take it, we can hack it, we're competitive until something doesn't go exactly the way you like. If Richard's not being exactly what we need him to be, then we're going to have a shit fit. Whereas at least your generation would be like, well, yeah, we're sensitive to this stuff.
Yeah.
And in fact, if anything, there's probably too much admission of vulnerability rather than like a boundaried admission of vulnerability. There's an oversharingness and an over sort of like, no, we're incredibly vulnerable, but at least it's not hypocritical. It needs correcting, but it's not hypocritical. And I think where we're seeing this, because it's quite angry, the okay boomer meme. It's quite dismissive. It's quite like, okay boomer. It's a shutdown. It's an angry thing that
funny.
The younger generation is saying up to the older generation, but that could be, maybe that's it. It's the hypocrisy that causes that level of irritation.
Of course. Because here's the thing. On paper, when you've popped up on my channel in 3 or 4 of my fully edited, polished videos, no one hated on you. No one of my generation or anybody younger was like, who the fuck this psychologist here?
Which it should have been. If anything, that's what I predicted. People were like, why have you got this fucking old guy? What's the point? Because it's not what you prepped them for.
Yeah, who is this cisgendered, white, older, straight man that is trying to tell me about psychology? None of that. Not even one.
Yeah.
I show up on your channel
and they lose their fucking minds, man. They lose their minds.
And I didn't say anything.
It was the impression. That's what did it. So there is perhaps a little bit of the narcissism of small differences going on, a little bit of projection going on. I'm sure everybody watching this knows what projection is. They're actually saying, okay, these you are the Peter Panners, you are the people with no resilience, and actually, really, it's me. I'm the Peter Pan. I'm the person with no resilience. I'm the person who needs everything to be exactly the way I want it to be.
It's annoying. That's just annoying, man.
Well, I think that's why you've got this really, I'd say really aggressive. It's quite aggressive meme. Because, and you know what? You know what the other thing is that is not great about it, but I can see where it's coming from, is your generation has learned the power of labeling, this identity politics thing.
Yeah.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Like, you are just a boomer.
Yeah.
You're not even a baby boomer. We should reduce it to boomer.
The reason why I love it so much is because it's 4 syllables, it's 2 words. While like in the opening video that we just played, this boomer is yelling for like 15 minutes about God knows what with no solution. He just, literally in the video, all he's saying is like, you guys have to know it's not a utopian society. You just have to understand that. Okay, great. What can you say besides, okay, boomer? What are you supposed to do after that? You know what I mean?
I actually heard that kind of ranting being done by my grandfather and my grandfather's friend to my parents, who they were dismissed as being yuppies in the 80s. And it was very much that. So we could, again, I'm taking the psychological angle here, we could be hearing recordings of abuse that they received. Maybe that guy who's having a rant, he's spewing out stuff that his dad or his grandfather, like this is the generation from World War II. My grandfather, he was a pilot for the Fleet Air Arm. His mate who was there, he lost his arm. He was in the parachute regiment, and they'd have a go at that baby boomer generation. We're like, we didn't fight the war so that you could have one of the criticisms I overheard in an angry argument was so that you could have kids that matched the curtains. So that they were being accused of just rampant posturing consumerism by the war generation. Like, we didn't go through rationing, we didn't go through all the stress and just so that you guys could act like dicks. So they're getting it from both sides now. They're getting it from their parents, and then they're getting it from their grandchildren. Everybody's the only person who's not saying anything is Generation X, probably because we're too depressed too.
Yeah,
we don't want to inconvenience anybody with our opinions.
Yeah, speaking of Generation X, that's my idea of you guys. You guys are sad, angsty, irritated, really silently aggressive and brooding.
That's just me, Pierre. That's not my generation. It's just
okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer.
If that person in the comments saying that I called them a boomer, it was just the meme. I didn't really mean you, by the way. I meant Richard.
I was talking about me.
Yeah, Generation X. I asked you this over dinner, where it was like, which took so long.
That was the longest. Yeah, it was a long
The
time.
sushi came out after an hour we ordered. It was just, anyways. Okay, boom. Generation X is not talked about at all in the entire dialogue of whatever half the time. And I'm wondering, what is it? Because from when I see content from Generation X, whether it be the movies, the music, the art that came out of it, it resonates with me because it is very angsty and dark and depressive and irritable and rage filled. And I resonate with a lot of that stuff, but the Gen X doesn't really enter the conversation or isn't even really brought up. It's always millennials, baby boomers, and now Gen Z, but Gen X just never gets brought up, and I'm wondering why.
Yeah, there is. Alanis Morissette said that she thought that she was the queen of people pleasers and the queen of the people pleasing generation. And she is dead set Gen Xer for sure. I think, or she's a little bit younger than me. And I think, I know she might be a little bit older than me, but I think that there is that kind of like people pleaser, fawn responder. If you were raised by people who are very self-centered to the point of developing narcissistic traits, if they're over and grandiose, you will develop like a fawning response where like, okay, what's my way of surviving this unpleasant childhood scenario? Be quiet, be still, don't let it happen. Rage, but quietly, rage away from them. There's a film that I loved growing up, and I realized it massively influenced my desire to do YouTube videos, and it's called Pump Up the Volume. It's like a 1992 movie with Christian Slater, and he's a high school kid who doesn't talk to anybody, and he develops a pirate radio station. And every night he goes on the air. He's in real life, he's an introvert, but on the radio, on the spam pirate radio, he's called Happy Harry Hardon.
Okay.
And his whole bag is like to pretend to wank noisily. That's how he opens the show. Like, oh, it's gonna be a gusher. I'm gonna come. This is the real thing. And then he proceeds to give people life advice.
And this is
real.
What inspired you.
This is what inspired me.
Okay.
That's why I jerk off.
That explains a lot.
In the middle of like giving people life advice.
No, I got it.
It's to ground them. And to make sure that the advice I'm giving is really coming from a place of Zen.
And this is why the camera is only getting your upper half of your body.
Oh my
right?
God, yeah. I mean, I'm so good at it. They never know.
I mean, your hands have been literally out of frame the entire time.
I've got to do my thing, man. I got to stay in that Zen, like stay.
And so about this film, what was the?
It was very, very angsty. There was some good. I mean, this was big around the Dennis Leary and Bill Hicks time. And actually, it's probably worth looking at the film again, because there is this kind of angsty thing. And there's this sense of like a dead generation where he says in the film, everything that is good has been done. There's nothing for us to conquer. Everything that is good has been done and turned into theme parks. It's not that dissimilar to Chuck Palahniuk's lament in Fight Club.
Right. I was just thinking that same thing.
Which is only 7 or 8 years later afterwards.
Right.
So, which is like, it's a film directed by a Gen Xer and has 2 Generation X actors, big Generation X actors in the main roles. It's a very Gen X kind of a film. This sense of like, maybe we're in between generations, and just this sense of everything really has been done. For you guys, I think so we were sort of living in the shadow of these big characters. I think for you guys, you're living in the shadow almost of a whole civilization, not just of people that are passing away, but a whole civilization that has just gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I see. Okay.
You'd have been, you know, what comes like a huge, you've lived through, 9/11, which I think is altered the world's perception of itself. And then what would it be? 8 years later, the biggest financial crash in recorded human history.
I was a bit too young to understand what was going on both of those ends for a while. But what I will say, when I look at Gen X, I just think nihilistic, like no goals, no meaning, and just give up. Like I read that it was like the highest suicide rate when it comes to a particular generation was Gen X.
I didn't know that.
And I was like, fuck, geez, what the hell happened in that generation? And I just think like meaninglessness in the air sort of a thing, and everyone's kind of fighting towards something, but not really. I think the reason why my generation of the millennials kind of brought themselves out of that was the advent and the incremental improvement of technology. I think the surge of all the technological stuff really brought to our vision an idea of potential. Like we saw the cell phones. Kids were getting cell phones younger and younger. I was like, oh fuck, like 14 years old with a smartphone, damn, or not a smartphone, but just like a flip phone at that point.
Mhm.
But then every year it would just be like, now it's a touch screen.
Mhm.
Now it's the iPod Touch or the iPod Mini, and then the earphones became trendy, and everything started increasing so much that we were riding this wave of technological improvement, which kind of I think subconsciously signals to us like, oh, there's stuff happening right now. Like there's potential. There's something to do. It's a whole world kind of opening and creeping with our eyes through the downloading of obscure, inappropriate videos on LimeWire. You know what I mean? That I feel like that brought your generation out of a funk too.
Probably did. Certainly helped me get through my 20s. Thank you, LimeWire.
Does anybody here remember LimeWire and Napster and all those P2P programs? The idea that you can just download a fucking movie in 30 minutes at that day and age was like incredible. You didn't have to, that was like the time where you could watch movies without going to Blockbuster or a movie theater for the first time.
For the first time.
Blockbuster.
It killed Blockbuster. Because actually, as far as porn consumption in that time goes and Generation X, as a friend of mine recently, we were joking after we'd been to the gym. And I said, what are you doing now? He said, as a throwaway comment, he went, I'm going to go home and have a wank. And I went, haha. He said, yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to put free porn into Google and I'm going to watch some porn. And I went, you're going to put what into Google? Free porn. I was like, dude, you don't have to do that anymore. And he literally looked at me and went, don't you? I was like, no, it's not 2005. He said, he sent me a text 3 days later. He's going, that's really changed my internet usage. You telling me that. But he was so conditioned for that LimeWire sort of phase, which we've just taken for granted, because like that's how when I started online, working online was 2005, where the internet was new and they were saying the internet's going to be huge. Everybody's going to have really fast broadband connections. I remember an internet marketing guru that I was listening to was like, one day, do you know what's going to happen? Google's going to know where you are. It's called geolocating. And it was like, wow, can you imagine? Google's going to know your age, your gender, your preferences. And this isn't like, what am I talking about? 15 years ago? We were like, wow, the wonders of the internet. This is right after everybody was arguing over what .com site you owned. There was this .com bubble because people bought up the good names like PRXO is cool.com. And then they try and sell it to you for $3,000.
Right.
Crazy how fast that's gone. But yeah, there is a thing. I think if things expand too quickly, it's like if fame expands too quickly, it doesn't always have the best impact on an individual's personality. So I do wonder if it did impact millennials and Gen Z in a negative way.
I think just now we're seeing the negative effects. Like literally in the last three years and counting is when things are really starting to showcase themselves. In the meantime, we've been just riding the biggest wave of our life. We're paddling out. It was still water for a while. Then when I was 10 o'clock, we started paddling and then stood up around like 13, 14 and started really riding it in the last like however amount of years. And now the wave is kind of subsiding at the moment. We're seeing exactly where it is. Some people didn't make it. Sort of a thing, some people were able to ride the wave completely. Some people are still on the wave like, oh, get me off.
Yep.
And, but I think in my generation's development, the wave was distracting enough and there was enough happening every year that it was like a whole new world every time. Like, how are you going to be disappointed when you're 13 years old with access to LimeWire?
Right.
Downloading what's and who's in any category. How could you be disappointed in your life when you're 13?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the best thing that you could. I remember at that time as well, like, because I'd lived in an era where I wanted martial arts courses as well, and they'd want to charge you 80 quid for it. And now all of a sudden you could just get it through LimeWire, just 80 quid, self-defense course and books, whatever book you wanted. It did have that. So you're saying that sense of expansion is just dying a death now.
You mean you can only expand so much, and it's only experienced surfers make the wave.
Right.
Otherwise, you drown for a bit, or you you suffocate for a while, then you get resuscitated. Some people, through whatever you want to call it, cyberbullying, body dysmorphia, meeting up with strangers online and getting killed, really dark stuff. Those are the people that really got the tail end of this.
Right.
Obviously, that's an extreme version. But as a whole, I don't think a lot of the generation was made or knew how to fully ride the wave. And still, like, people are right now, I think, is like they're at the residual PTSD state of mind of like, oh shit, when's that next wave gonna come? Where they still feel like they have to start paddling at any second.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just trying to stay afloat.
Right.
Sort of a thing.
Right. Do you think if we have a crisis, that millennials will struggle more to deal with it than Gen X will struggle?
It depends on what kind of struggle. If it's an internet freedom based startup, corporate, whatever it is, I think millennials will do okay. But when it comes to like actual survival with like earthly activities that need to be done and those types of crises, like,
oh shit, is our difference in interest, is that a generational thing? You were saying like I'm into nature and you're into the city?
Ooh, could be.
Shit.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I wonder.
There's a lot my age that are into nature for sure, but I think it's not as much.
They're not into running around in the woods naked like that.
No. That's just you, man.
Pine needles. I love them.
I'll just stick to my Wi-Fi, man. I can watch a video. I can project an image of the forest and pretend like I'm running.
Should we take some questions from these gangsters?
Yeah. If you got any questions about the particular topic or anything that has no relevance at all, please give us a question.
And we'll put it up on the screen for you as well.
How about this one? Millennials have less coping strategies for life. I think we're just very inexperienced with a lot of real world stuff because no one fucking taught us and we don't know what the hell to do. I'm still figuring this shit out. This is the first time I've lived on my own and it's in a foreign country and no one taught me anything about the situation.
What were we talking about the other day? I was talking about something and you said, oh, we should learn this in school. Was it money or?
Yeah, money and credit cards.
Oh yeah, credit.
Yeah.
And handling money and
Yeah.
There's a whole way. I mean, this was my big issue in the education system is it's based on a protocol and a syllabus from 80 years ago. So when we were talking about the pros and cons, like you would just be told getting into debt is a bad thing. And I was like, well, not really. Like you need a credit score. You need to have the ability to lend is a good thing. Don't do it, but having the ability, like it's, and then we were talking about money, handling money and that, all of that, you're not taught. Well, I wasn't taught that. You've got to learn it outside of school. But that's the kind of stuff that really should be in school now, I think. Make a big difference.
Anything that's taught in school nowadays, I have not used in my daily life at all.
No.
I had to figure that out on my own, man. Oh, wait. I just want to read this. No, millennials are extremely versatile and adaptable and maybe even nihilistic enough to not be disappointed. I don't disagree.
When the war starts, we shall see.
Hey guys, is this okay if I feel myself more motivated looking at someone's success from my generation and thinking that I'm better than this someone? How can I fix it and should I? I think knowing the context of what age group you're in will definitely help more to this question, but let's just assume that, I don't know, you're younger. I guess. In my case, a little bit of competition is good. I'm not going to lie. A big reason why I was so driven to make my YouTube channel was because I saw so many other influencers and YouTubers making asinine content that I was like, I can make better asinine content, but I could also make smarter content at the same time. So I guess it kind of came from that frame of like, I think I can do better than what I see now. So it definitely motivated and pushed me to do better than that. And that's friendly competition. I'm not going out of my way to tear the other channels down. I'm not talking shit. I'm just internalizing that and trying to be better in that way.
I didn't understand the question. I've read it 5 times. I'm like, I feel myself more motivated. Only for you, you do you. Oh, yeah.
Now that's millennial Gen Z philosophy.
That's right.
You do you.
Listen to my forehead.
Listen to your forehead.
That's a lot of forehead right there.
Mm-hmm. I really want to understand your Generation X or Generation
Kelly is suggesting we create a new generation called Generation XO.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all need bandanas to cover your third eye.
So, how do millennials step back from themselves to regain calm and regenerate in city and nature?
I take your technology away from you.
I pull up my smartphone and look it up. How to relax.
Yeah. I actually was looking at an app last night that's supposed to help you sleep. It's called I don't know, Degenerate or something like that.
It says go the fuck to sleep.
Yeah, go the fuck to sleep, idiot. It's called Mesmerize. And
oh my God, what is this acid nonsense?
yeah. And it tells you like
you just stare at that and you fall asleep?
It gives you like audio meditations and stuff. And I actually found it profoundly irritating and very stimulating. I was like, just give me my Kindle, with that weak light it has. Just read it, then it switches off.
It's not their fault. We teach about the difference between sedimentary and igneous rocks, but not how to wisely choose college or trade schools so they don't waste their time.
Very true, UG Rose. I think the people who are in charge, they don't know themselves. It's not like they're following a wonderful career path.
No guidance, man.
No guidance.
No guidance.
No guidance.
Nobody in my generation is being guided at all, or let alone correctly. Your sleep aid.
Sorry, if everybody's feeling sleepy right now, it's because the sleep aid. It was whispering us to sleep whilst we're talking.
Why is anxiety and depression so common in our generation?
I actually don't think anxiety and depression is that common in your generation. I think that linguistically you say it's anxiety and depression because you don't have the language to describe what you're really feeling. Wow. Profound shit, man. I just drop it. Boom, just like that.
I don't disagree with that, man. That's fucking good. And then we just talk about it we don't shut up about it.
Yeah,
Richard, I'm sad.
Yeah, well, it is a sad generation. I was, after the other night, I was trying to listen to some more hip hop. I was like, listen to new hip hop, and fucking hell, so much of it is sad. And I was like, right,
it is.
I'm going to find who will make like hard sounding hip hop. And I went, I want to listen to Russian rap. I pulled up a Russian rap playlist. I was like, this is going to go hard. I know it is. Sad.
It's
sad.
That's the saddest, actually.
Fuck,
Russian rap, or the artists that Russians really like, are really depressive, dark rappers, man.
This is it's. I mean, we had angst. We had Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson, but this is it just makes me sad. It's profoundly sad, auto-tuned. It's all a lament. I think it's trauma. I think that there's also, if you don't have a future, it's very hard to feel positive. And I'm not saying you're doomed and there's no future. I'm saying nobody's going, here's your future. When you're 25, you'll do this cool thing. And when you're 35, you're going to do this cool thing. And when you're 45, you can do. It's just like, do whatever you want. Do you want to be famous? Do you want to be a Kardashian? Well, you won't. It's really very, very confusing. When I was in the schools 10 years ago, I saw this being done to you. I saw this being done to 14, 15-year-olds who are now 25, 26. And I was like, the kids loved me because I wasn't giving them this weird, this blancmange of nothing. Guidance. They wanted structure. They wanted guidance, and you don't have it. So that's why you feel bad.
We have no guidance, and we have too many resources. We don't know what to do with them. There's no set goal, and there's not a set community. You put all of those bitches together, and we'd be crying a sad rap. You know what I mean? We don't know what the hell we're doing out here.
Signaling has replaced communication, and unfortunately, it's one of the negative side effects of social media. Social media is useful for many things, but signaling over communicating is a really detrimental thing to human psychology.
What do you think about the new PRXO featuring Richard Grant musical single? Should we expect this?
There'll be
Actually, yes.
Guy had me an eye makeup today.
You guys gotta see this shit. You guys gotta see this.
Well, they're going to see it anyway at some point, I suppose. There's no music, Cal, but we did a skit about Slavoj Žižek, which you'll see next week.
Oh shit, the battery. Oh, you gotta keep watching though. Oh shit.
They don't. They don't. My God.
Look at that.
My God, it's disturbing. Look, the obscenity of the gestures. It's disgusting. This disgusting guy. That will be edited and out next week.
God, it's so funny. It's so fucking funny.
Full Slavoj Žižek skit, where we actually get into why Slavoj is so difficult to understand. and what
God,
to do
I
about
don't. I shouldn't spoil it, huh? Because I want to tell them, but this.
it. Don't give us spoilers, Pierre.
They just literally saw a clip out of context of you dressed up as Zizek dancing.
I don't even know that it looks like I'm dressed up as Zizek. I think it looks like I have an 18th century merkin, which is a pussy wig, for those of you who don't know what a merkin is.
What the fuck? I don't even know what that is.
Oh my God, let me educate you. See, this is what millennials need. Men in the 18th century loved huge pubic bushes, loved them. So the women who were exotic dancers who were titillating the lusts of these men, if they couldn't grow enough pubic hair, they would have beautifully made wigs made to make that pubic bush go from around here to around the kneecap.
No, shut the
No,
fuck up.
not that big, but
No,
big.
dude, what
That's a merkin. A merkin. You can look it up. M-I-R-K-I-N.
From the chest to the knee,
That's how I like them.
because it feels like you're hugging a carpet.
So I get this beard, and well, it's not the strap-on merkin, which is then I am to do this Zizek impression, and it gets wet as I'm doing it. So I just have bits of wet fur.
Birkin Merkin.
Birkin
No,
merkin.
Borkin Merkin.
Borkin merkin in my mouth. I hope my mother sees this.
It's crazy how beauty standards change over time. People purposely wore pussy wigs
Pussy
because
wigs.
they thought it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
That is the antithesis of anything that's arousing nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, I was about to overshare that, but it is the antithesis of, I'll leave it at that. Some girls make decisions in the opposite direction. Quiet time for Richie.
Okay.
Somebody mentioned Little Klimt there.
Yeah, they know Lil Clint. Oh, this is a good one. Recently, Instagram removed likes on images. How do you think this will impact the masses? Have they already done this, or aren't they planning this?
They've not done it on mine.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm getting lots of likes. They've been talking about it for a while. They're rolling it out slowly, I believe. The truth of the matter is, it's going to take a lot of the pleasure away from using Instagram. But the pleasure that you're getting, that particular serotonin release that comes from likes, the psychology behind it is way more savage than you'd think. It's really bad for you. It generates huge feelings of humiliation, in fact. And you're way more addicted or conditioned to the pain of using social media, particularly Instagram is a bad one, than you are conditioned to the pleasure of it. So they're using humiliation as a conditioning tool, and that's what likes is all about. So they've been told they have to remove them.
What I read was that likes aren't going away, just the display of
That's
them
right.
for
So
other
you'll know.
people.
You'll know, but I
where
won't
you
know.
Yeah. In that case, I think it's reasonable. I think the feeling of likes and doing that is almost, you can't get rid of that now. We're just too far in it to just fully get rid of the like system.
Yeah. Well, you need, as a content producer, if it's your job, you kind of need to know what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
The competition online with strangers that come through them going like this with their finger is not good, is not healthy. And we've proven this. There are published research. People keep saying there's no published research. There's tons of published research. Well, not tons, but there's at least 14, 15 papers that have shown that this is really damaging for you because it generates feelings of shame and humiliation.
I think I support it because there's no reason why you should know if Kim Kardashian has 30 million likes.
No.
There's no reason why you need to know your friends, how many likes they get in comparison. That's actually just completely unnecessary. You don't really need to know that.
Yeah.
So I guess in this particular case, with no one to compare it to and you receive the likes, it's definitely a bit healthier and it will feel a bit better
Yeah.
if you only see the likes driven to you, but you don't see everybody else's.
And maybe people realize as they're using it and they don't get to see how many likes. Say if you see 40 million likes on a post that you find abhorrent, you feel something about that. And we're so used to cramming down our emotions now. We're cycling through negative emotions like this. So I'm bored waiting for the bus, cycle through negative rage, indignation, fear, humiliation. Oh, the bus is here.
Oh, dude. That's a very interesting thing I've never thought about. You're cycling through intense micro emotions in a short amount of time. However, like with any skill, even if you do it a little bit for even 30 minutes a day for 3 years, you'll get really good at that skill.
Yes.
In this particular case, if you're consistently cycling through micro emotions every 3 minutes, that builds up over a span of a month, which becomes 2 years, that destabilizes your entire psyche and brain functioning.
Yes.
Which is maybe where the anxiety and depression and instability comes from, because it's just an impact of over and over and over different micro traumas and emotions over and over.
Exactly that. So Gabor Mate has made that point, and so has Jarrod Lanier. They've both made the same point, that actually you're conditioning your brain to feel pain. It's actually in the longest term usage, in the stuff we do most online, it's actually way more about self-harm than self-gratification. Way more about self-harm than self-gratification.
Self-harm. I love it.
Happy days for humanity.
Hey. Google images search Merkin.
Pumisol. What is pumisol?
I don't know what pumisol is. I don't know if I want to know. Don't you think if you are a discerning human, it's more a case of what you choose to grow up with influence you, not what your generation tells you?
This is a narcissistic fantasy. You're not a discerning human. You're just a sheep.
Do you get? I have a hard. Now I'm having trouble understanding the question.
They're saying, "What if I'm special and different?" You're not. You're not. We're all massively influenced by the culture, way more than your precious ego would like. We're massively influenced by the words, thoughts, and actions of the people around us, way more than our precious egos would like. This is why psychology fails and fails and fails again, because we're trying to understand humans as sovereign soul individuals, and we are not. We are extremely tribal creatures.
And even if you are a more rebellious, so-called independent thinker, you still have to take into account what the rest of the tribe is doing in order to truly be different or an independent thinker. So you are constantly cycling through the collective consciousness of everybody around you.
No escape, I'm afraid.
The bearded beaver hunt.
You're silly.
What about the use of filters? I was thinking of making a video about the idea of Facetune in Photoshop and using filters and stuff. I don't think I'm not fully against it, because here's the thing. If I post a picture with me with a giant zit on my eyeball, it's going to get circulated on so many people's Instagrams, and the shit could get published and hung up in front of my flat. And I don't want to see my giant zitted eyeball and nose over and over and over again. So I think there is a limit when it comes to what kind of filters you use, Facetune and Photoshop. I think tastefully editing out certain things and your photos is fine. That's what movies do. Like, that's what film is basically editing out certain things that are hyper realistic to paint a subjective idea or a vision or a story. Where same thing I think can apply to photos, where it's like you can make a better image if you edit out a particular thing. You can make yourself look better. But if you like lengthening your lips and stretching your cheekbones and expanding your merkin, digitally, that's pushing the limit. That's not you. That ain't you. Facetune should bring out the best version of you, not a version with you with bigger lips.
I'm trying to do blue steel. There's more to life than being really, really good looking. I just haven't figured out what it is yet.
Oh, I don't have to change anything about my face.
You just do a normal face. That's Pierre's blue steel face.
What is Richard doing?
Being.
Hmm. Have you seen the experiment where they raise kittens in a horizontally lined room?
No.
I have no idea what that is.
No, that sounds like some dreadful vision. I haven't, no, sorry.
I am from Russia.
Здравствуйте, товарищ.
Damn, that's good. Government prepares to forbid phones for kids in our schools. How can it affect education system? Don't think so. That's kind of interesting. I have to think about that for a while, but what do you think? Do you think that'll benefit or be worse?
I think it will be a benefit, but it's kind of cart before horse, and it's a bit of a, if I may, it's a bit of a boomer solution. It's a bit like, oh, there's damn phones, gotta get rid of it. Well, what's in the education system? Look, I can go on for a very long time about education, but I will just like give you the cliff notes on my stance on this. Until you can tell me, or anyone can tell me, what the enterprise of education is for, we shouldn't be doing it anymore. Is it for the development of character? Is it to make good civilized humans who will pay their taxes? Is it to breed an intelligentsia class? What is it for? And unless I get a clear, cogent answer, I can't be halfway through the debate. So, because all I would say is we're engaging in an enterprise that has no objective, and never in the history of human endeavor has that worked well. So that's cart before horse. But no, I mean, like, but if you're asking whether I think phones are distracting in the classroom, yes, they are. But what's the classroom doing?
Yeah. You got to get to the source before you fight the symptom.
Mm.
In my opinion, I think it's Pandora's box is way too open in order to try to submit putting technology back in where it came from. It's just nearly impossible. And you can learn and find out so much more information so much quicker with having a phone there. If I had a say in terms of education system, which you should never listen to me when it comes to these things. However, what I would say, I would come up with a system that's like internet integrated, phone integrated, social media integrated education, where would be big activities like everybody look on Wikipedia on your phone right now what you think of thing is, or have exercises, or like comment to your neighbor's Instagram sitting next to you what you think about this and this and this. Because like if you try to just ban the thing overall, like we're saying, when kids are younger, adolescents, they're just gonna do the complete opposite of that. So if you let them do it and then just figure out the way to maneuver it so it's a bit more productive, I think it could be a bit better.
Yeah, definitely. There are apps where you can gamify things. So you can gamify
Right.
education and gamify communication. It's a shame if we have to go that route, but you can't put the toothpaste back inside the tube. So we do have to work with what we've got right now.
What I will say is that I know people, or have seen people, that know a lot about European history just because of Assassin's Creed, because it's a video game based in that time period, and they just learned elements of history just by playing the video game.
Yeah.
If you want to teach kids and younger people about certain things, they'll absorb it much better when it's fun as hell and you get to play with other people.
I would have kids play Age of Empires and then teach them about politics, geography, economy, all of that. If you've actually played running your own civilization, and you can see where everything goes, it makes way more sense, and you'll get more interest in history. Definitely.
Would you like to pick a comment?
The kitten man was back. Resonate 222. When the kittens reached adulthood, they could not see vertical things in the environment like chair and table legs. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. So if they're raised in a totally horizontal environment, they became vertical thing blind. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. And the point that I'm sure you're making here is that this is how ideology functions today.
How do you, like, what do you mean by not see though?
Bro, when you say like not see.
Yo, it's like if you never seen a vape, you know, you mean like you still see it though, you know what I mean?
What's this cloud, bro?
Yeah.
when psychologists say things like they can't see the vertical things, they'd be like they're not responding the way they should be normally. We don't actually see very much. Light obviously travels in straight lines, so we make up the three-dimensional perspective that we have is actually constructed. It's a simulation. You're seeing me flat. You imagine me round. You're very round. You imagine. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
So that's flat, but you know that it has a back to it, but you're making it. You're making it up. So you don't actually see that all that much. We can't. Our eyes aren't that good, and our brains can't process that much data. And you see it upside down.
Do you think cheating should be illegal and punishable?
Yes.
Would it change anything?
Yes, you should spank them.
Cheating what though?
Oh, Monopoly, right? Right on the bottom cheeks.
Give me the money.
No, I don't think that cheating should be punishable and illegal because I don't live in Saudi Arabia, nor would I wish to.
Anybody can change the definition of cheating, and that's where the danger comes from.
That's true, actually, yeah. Did you think about another woman? 30 lashes.
Do you see it coming?
Okay. I hear the younger generation don't like sex as much because porn replaced it for them for the most part. Do you agree? Spank them. Hey! I love to flip, man. I won't say that I don't like flipping any less, but I will say it has influenced probably a lot more of my preferences, either when it comes to who I flip with or what I do when I flip and what, gets me to flip mode, if you know what I mean.
Translation to English. Does like making love in the real world to real ladies, but it has impacted his desire and the way in which he wishes to express these carnal desires with the ladies that he's making love to.
You got to answer this too, dog.
Nice try. Answering
nice try.
Shit. We've discussed at length. It's not really a question of opinion. The statistics that back this, that younger people don't have sex as much. Apparently, there isn't as much of a reported drive as there was in, say, my generation. And porn is partly to blame for that. Plus, porn has altered the way people can or cannot do intimacy. And I want to dodge the laser beams. Anything more from you, Pierre?
I think, but a lot of people definitely, I think that no fap movement, meaning no watching porn, basically, because it's depleting testosterone levels and making a lot of younger men really inept when it comes to socially inept.
Squeaking.
What was that?
You said low testosterone levels, my balls went.
When it comes to it being sexually and socially inept. So I understand if that's the case, but I don't think it's affected me in that way.
I'm doing that ayahuasca retreat in 2 weeks, and he told me no fap for the 2 weeks before.
Good luck.
Or sex or humping pillows.
Okay.
Your pillows are safe for once.
Okay, thank God. Yeah, I mean, what I think of the no fap, if it works for you, then it works for you in the same way as eating kale salads and being vegan. If that works for you, then it works for you. If working out and doing yoga works for you, it works for you. Everyone's got an outlet that makes them do good things.
He also wants me to be vegetarian and eat a little bit of fish. So I'm supposed to be practically vegetarian for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, you're going to be so much fun to be around.
I'm going to be eating all the fish, just trying to stay in a decent mood.
You want to hit up, the gentleman's bar down the street? No.
I am going to ayahuasca retreat.
Somebody wrote my name has been written in large capital letters. Richard, why are you doing an ayahuasca retreat?
Iowa.
Stacy,
Iowa.
Iowa. I'm going to ayahuasca, which is somewhere between Iowa and Alaska. Because
Reset.
oh, you telling me to reset?
That's like what the
Because-
ayahuasca experience is for. no?
Mushin. Yeah, because it wants me to.
That's a great answer, man. I love that.
The plant has summoned me, and now it's time.
I want
Jeff Watkins says, "Mind your business."
to mind your business. Mind your business. I want to talk to you about this, actually. The China's social credit system. Do you know about this?
I'm dimly aware. Please explain.
Dude, this is wild. You should watch like the short documentaries on YouTube about it. China has a system in place where they judge you for your moral behavior, and they have your name written down with a number attached to it. So if you jaywalk, you get -3 points. If you help an old lady cross the street, you get +10 points. If you pay for someone's meal, perhaps you get 11 points. However, if you an infidel and you cheat, and you -100 points, and then you can't open a business, you can't do anything. And also like that. Also, they have social credit officers, people in plain clothes, old ladies, regulars, men and women, and everything in between, keeping an eye on everybody around the neighborhood. So when they catch them do something wrong, they can mark their name down. And on top of that, they have highly developed surveillance cameras all around the city that have face recognition that can totally keep in track of your social credit score.
Evil.
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. Yeah, sounds evil.
Okay,
Sounds like nastiness. 1984 Stalinist nastiness. Very, very bad idea.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah. It's not very interesting when you give 6-second long answers. Evil. All right. Thanks, Richard. That was insightful. Fuck's sake. You don't want to condition people to be peering at each other, and you don't want to condition humans to feel as though they're being peered at. It's not healthy. It's not pleasant.
A lot of the people that live there want the social credit system. They're like, I think it's a great way to keep everybody safe, and it's fine as long as you have nothing to hide, then that's fine.
Heavens.
Mm-hmm.
Heavens above. Well, I mean, you say that, but like, I suppose we have a lot of people here who, like the people who are extreme with the political correctness. They'll say, okay, this is a good thing, or people who believe in equality of outcome instead of equality of opportunity. It's not the same, but it's a very, in my view, a very submissive, authority-desiring perspective. Like you're a tattletale.
Mm-hmm.
You want mummy, big daddy, big brother to come and fix it for you instead of fixing it yourself. And I'm far too libertarian leaning to enjoy such concepts.
I love it. I want to be watched everywhere. You know what I mean? I'd have the best social credit.
Fap is the sound of masturbation. I'm so glad I'm on a podcast where somebody had to say that. Fap is the sound that Christian Slater makes in Pump Up the Volume when he's being happy Harry Hardon. Fap. Sounds like an advert for a product. Fap. Fap.
I just saw something. How to express laughter other than LOL.
Hummusel. Lamau. Lufmau.
What I do is I put my face on the monitor and laugh as loud as I can, hoping the other person on the other side can hear me.
Oh, feel it.
I'll feel it. When is the next alchemy video?
You kind of finished that, haven't you?
Almost.
It's nearly finished. Pierre's done another amazing job on the next alchemy video, and
Yeah.
it's probably going to be out in the next 2 days.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, actually. I think you guys will like it. Unfortunately, the weather is dipping quite quickly. It's freezing out here, so we're trying to like figure out a way around filming the outside scenes without, getting our ball sacks.
Chizza whizza whizza. Pierre, it's so cold. My ball sack is chizza whizza whizza. It's balking. My ball sack balked off. Chizza whizzer whizzer. It is cold here. Very, very, very cold. It's suddenly, yeah, as Pierre said, it's dipped a lot. So we'll be shooting stuff. When we have the random sunny day, we'll be shooting stuff. Pierre got some beautiful B-roll.
And like, here's the thing. In the meantime, if you guys, if we can't film anything outside, what we'll end up filming is this thing right here.
It's beautiful. The obscenity of the gestures. Disgusting guy. He made me do it. Pussy wig on my face. Plastic penis.
That was the most I've laughed ever with the camera on, man. That was so funny. Oh,
PJ's Fensker says, Richie, your eyes look gorgeous. Well, he put the eye makeup on me to make me look like Slavoj Žižek. But then he said he didn't have any eye makeup removers, so I've been scrubbing them in a sink.
it's not coming out.
You can still see it. I've still got like this friggin' 80s emo.
By the way, stuff is permanent. Forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
That was part of the initiation. Though.
Yeah. Now you've been exoed.
And then
where's my bandana to cover it? Do you have a bandana that would cover this? Or convert a flag for me.
And the funny thing is that you use the Lush Santa's belly, so you have glitter all over your face.
You got glitter on your head, boy. Your forehead. Big ass, glittery ass. Forehead.
You coming out at Prague looking like Prince by the end of the month.
Good. I don't care.
Oh, shit.
Pierre and Richard makeup video. No. Pierre
Why
makeup
not?
video. Because no. Pierre makeup. I still need people to take me seriously.
After the Zizek video.
I'm fucked. I'm so fucked.
The video is so funny. The video, dude. I gotta show you one more scene,
Oh,
man.
God.
The stuff is so funny.
Jesus, help me. Myself, whatever you want, and then I will modality I want it to be. You will listen to me. The pussy wig's falling off as I'm ranting.
Dude,
He said I need a minute of B-roll of you just pretending to be. So I just had to make up things that I thought Zizek would say for a minute. I was sweating.
one more.
No, yeah, no. Oh my God. They're not going to understand what that is. Pierre just likes confusing people.
It's just
When it's edited, it'll make sense. It's scary. That's definitely not going to make sense. Okay, Pierre. I think you've confused everybody enough now. I'm not even going to bother explaining. Fuck it. Fuck it. Let me just jerk off.
That's not gonna make sense.
Why are you delighted that everybody's fucking confused? They'll be like, why does it look like a horror movie? I kind of get possessed. I get possessed by Zizek.
My abs are so funny. Like everyone's so confused.
Please stop putting smiley faces and encouraging Pierre.
You know what's hilarious is like in the video, I'm actually playing the more level-headed straight.
You are, yeah. You're the straight. Pierre's actually the straight man in this.
You're losing your fucking mind.
Oh, Jesus. When's that coming out?
Dude, I'm gonna try to edit this as fast as I can. It's
Is that a
so
tentacle
funny.
croissant? That'll be a tentacle croissant.
Yeah,
video.
it'll probably be a video that goes directly to this channel.
Yeah,
because
not on
it's-
my channel where I'm trying to talk about overcoming childhood trauma, alchemy, positive intent. That can go here. This is where the boys play in their sandbox. Anyway, do any of you have any more questions? This is why we need to hack to get all Richard's secrets. You don't need to know my secrets.
Some of these clips are so funny on their own.
I'm like Batman. You only need the facade. The real Bruce Wayne is boring, pointless, useless guy. That's the disgusting.
Okay, one more, dude.
No, what?
Dude.
The confusion. Stop posting smiling emojis. You're encouraging him. Okay, Pierre. They've got it, Pierre. They've got it. That's great. They've got it. Great. But I kind of got. Isn't it weird though that I was told dance and I kind of got a bit strippery.
You just went
like
for
really.
it, dude.
My Zizek is a very sexy, naughty
Dude,
Slovenian philosopher.
you think about the storyline.
Anyway, into
The storyline. Which one?
No, I was just somebody's like, I have no idea what that was. There's no explanation. This is a Pierre XO production.
Dude.
You'll never know.
Dude.
You'll never know. There'll only be a question that goes on forever with no answer.
I haven't been able to say a word for the last 5 minutes. Can you say that?
I think Zizek will absolutely love it. It's beautiful. I don't know about that at all. You guys might know, I met Zizek. I've seen him live twice in the last 6 months, and I met him at Starbucks afterwards. If I see him again and whip out this YouTube video and be like, what do you think of that?
What do you think of it?
He would think I was an idiot. He thought I was an idiot when I met him in Starbucks. He was like, oh, I'm a really big fan of you, and so nice to meet you. He was like, yes, it's very nice. I'm trying to eat a sandwich. Fuck off.
Why is he in Starbucks? I feel like that's so anti-him.
Yeah, he was eating a sandwich made of capitalist ideology.
Oh my
I might need therapy after this. Who's chipping in? There is no therapeutic modality that can protect you from this.
Do you guys have any more questions, or would you like to see the rest
No,
of the
no,
unfiltered?
that's because that's not an option. That's not an option. No. Anybody got any questions that are relevant to the title of the topic? Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. We all need therapy.
It's true.
They know now, man. Magic Mike deleted scenes, man.
Yeah. Jesus. Do you know that Kanye West? We should end on this question,
Okay.
right? Kanye West is planning to run for president. Will this happen? What do you think about his church? Well, Donald Trump is president, so yeah, sure, Kanye will run for president.
If he doesn't actually get it, it'll be remembered for eternity that he tried.
Yeah.
And it'll be bigger than the actual winner of the president.
Yeah, but this is what people said to Donald Trump, because he never thought he was going to win either. They'll be like, everybody's going to remember that you tried. You can write a book about it. It'll promote your brand. And then he won, and he was devastated. He was like, oh no, I have to actually do this thing now. He never thought he was going to win. He does the publicity stunt that went awry. Only in America.
Yeah, the best publicity stunt ever. To do the whole thing over again.
Oh my Jesus! Please don't trigger Pierre. Please have mercy.
All right. Are we good or any more?
I think we've. I was fucking astonished. Chump won. Well, and anything is possible. I mean, would Kanye do a better job?
Probably. I don't know, man. Oops. That wasn't supposed to be the one. Change comedy over generations. Not totally. Where am I going next? I don't know, but Jeff has hit the head on the nail.
He's whacked his head, and I feel like I've whacked my head on a nail.
I totally agree, Jeff. Lighthearted environments help people loosen up, de-stress, regain peace of mind, and that's the whole purpose of this channel that we have right now. I'll be making a new one for other lighthearted nonsense, and I hope you guys enjoy Richard Grannon's debut in a new cinematic film we call Catch the Zizek. Me too, Jacob. Me too. Lead us out, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much for all of your time and your attention. We truly do appreciate it. And we both look forward to speaking to you very, very soon indeed. Yeah, do you have anything else for them?
I think you'll really love this new video that I have coming out for you guys. I think you'll see a side of Richard that you'll never forget.
I know I won't.
Goodbye, my friends.
Forehead.
Oh, hey.